Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Women and Girls Foundation's web show, In the Movement. This month, I am honored and thrilled to have my special guest, Madam Speaker Joanna McClinton. Miss McClinton, we are so thankful to have you with us today, and I'm really excited to learn about your initiatives and your role within our government. You share a bit of your background and how you found your way into politics.
Absolutely. So, from a young girl, like many of the girls you serve, I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my whole life dream from second grade. It was also actress, hairdresser, preacher, but we're not here to discuss all those things that I haven't quite done professionally. And wanting to be a lawyer led me after law school to working as a public defender. I did that job for almost 10 years in Philly, where I live. And then I got a job working for my state senator as his chief counsel. And that led me to Harrisburg for the very first time on Senate voting days. And I learned that even if you are unplugged and don't know necessarily what's going on in our state capitol, every decision there affects all of us. And it was there that I found passion in advocating at the state level to bring resources back home. And suddenly I found myself in a special election in the summer of 2015. Although I never dreamt of becoming a public official and certainly not a state lawmaker, I thought maybe as a young lawyer, maybe I'm 50, maybe I'll be a judge, but I never thought I could be a state lawmaker. And here I am 9 years later, and just so excited to serve my neighbors and to be a woman that has been able to break barriers thanks to the support of so many state representatives that I work with every day.
When you became the Speaker of the House here in Pennsylvania, you were the first Black woman to ever do so. What did that feel like for you? Did you always want to have this role? And I know you spoke a little bit about that in the previous question, but can you just talk a little bit about what it feels like to be the first?
Absolutely. So I will say, as the first woman to be Speaker in Pennsylvania's House of Representatives, it's just absolutely astonishing. I still pinch myself in enthusiasm that I've been able to get to this role. And in terms of goals and dreams, it was nothing that I had thought about, especially when I first was elected. I didn't even believe I was running for state rep, running for office, elected, successful, serving neighbors in a leadership role. And I'm just grateful that when I was able to be elected by my colleagues to be the minority leader, we talked a lot about what does it mean for Democrats in Harrisburg to be in charge, because we had not been in charge for a very long time. And when we finally elected enough Democrats across the state, voters make their decision, we were able to say, oh my goodness, I can run for speaker if my colleagues once again elect me to be the speaker. And in February of 2023, that's exactly what happened. And I realized, I'm standing on the shoulder of so many giants, including Speaker Kaylee Irvis, who was the first African American speaker from out of Pittsburgh, heavy on the Hill District, and many women that have paved the way for me to be here. And I look forward to simply holding the door open for so many women to follow.
So let's talk about some of the initiatives you're actively engaged with. Voting access is incredibly contentious here in Pennsylvania. Why did you want to work on this and expand access across the Commonwealth?
It's very important that we have a working democracy. And democracy works when people can participate. Voting is important in every single election that we have. In Pennsylvania, like every state across our nation, has two a year. We have a primary and then we have a general election. And we absolutely need everyone voting. We need Generation Z, we need women, we need seniors. Your voice is your vote. And if voting wasn't valuable, people wouldn't be trying to always restrict voting rights and access and roll back voting rights. And I've been working on legislation in Harrisburg to make sure that in the future, not for this upcoming election, because the bill hasn't been sent to the Senate or to the governor's desk yet, but in the future, that people can register on election day, that they can officially have early voting in Pennsylvania for 2 weeks leading up to the election, and that so many folks have signed on to support this initiative. And for me personally, I think about my mom who grew up in segregation, which for young girls watching that don't know what that means. That means that there were parts of town she lived in North Carolina where she couldn't go because she was Black. She couldn't use water fountains. She couldn't sit on the front of a bus. She couldn't go into restaurants and sit down. But it also applied on election day. She and my grandma could not vote until laws changed. So it's very important that we make sure there's more access to vote and that especially women have a seat at the table.
Yes, yes. And I love that you bring that such recent history, like back to the forefront. I feel the same way. Like sometimes our young people, they're passionate, but they don't have that connection to just how short of a time it's been since women have had the right to vote, since people of color have had the right to vote, since Black women have had the right to vote. And so just making sure that people understand that is so important. So you have an amazing project going on, and I would love for you to share a little bit about that. Can you share the importance of the Dear Girl project with us?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So back in May, we were recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month, and all of the women I serve with in the Pennsylvania House Democratic Caucus took on the Dear Girl Project. And we want to talk about wellness for every woman and every girl, not just in May, but all year. And so many times we have self doubt, or we're stressed or anxious. And what we did was write a letter to our younger selves, and we took a current portrait to go along with it. And we did that because we wanted to show women and girls across Pennsylvania, across America. It was picked up by Essence Magazine. So anybody who could see it around the world, that yes, we are role models, we're leaders, but there were times when our younger selves did not ever expect us to be doing what we're doing now. And certainly when we think about the challenges we had as children, as teenagers, it's tough, but we weren't even living in social media ages. So we know it's even more pressure and strain on our younger girls and adolescents and young women. So we wanted to just bring solidarity to talk about mental health wellness and to encourage.
How does civic engagement lead to things like the Momnibus bill? And can you share more about what that is?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So we are working on a bill called, a package of bills called the Momnibus. And my colleague, Representative Latasha Mays, who serves a bit of Pittsburgh at all of our press conferences, says, get on the bus, the Momnibus. And it's an eight-bill package that would improve the outcomes of expectant mothers all across Pennsylvania. It does things like provide blood pressure monitors to those who are expecting. It does other things like giving access to doula services and midwife services to make sure that you have all the options needed so that we don't have this really horrible maternal mortality rate. Unfortunately, many women of color are more likely not even to survive the birthing experience. And the reason why this has all come to pass is exactly a direct result of civic engagement, because people in districts all across Pennsylvania elected leaders like Representative Mays here in Philly, Representative Morgan Cephas, and in Delaware County, right next to my other side of my district, Representative Gina Curry. These women created an organization in Harrisburg called the Pennsylvania Black Maternal Health Caucus, and they are focused on solutions, on moving legislation, and every budget since this organization has existed, and investing money to solve these crises across the state. And of course, by the time all the participants in GirlGov get around to having families years and years away, these staggering numbers of women of color not surviving the birthing experience will change. And so that's a direct result of people voting.
Here's a forward-thinking question for you. What are three things you hope to see happen for the better in PA over the next 3 to 5 years?
So as we move along, there are so many goals and so many bills that we sent over to the Senate that haven't gotten a vote. And then there are many more things that we realize what we have to do. We've gotten a lot accomplished over 2 years with the slimmest majority. We only have a one-seat majority. We've been able to get historic funding for public schools. We've been able to do community safety grants and initiatives to prevent violence. But what we haven't finished the job on is changing laws like the gun laws, how people can access, for instance, weapons of mass destruction. We've sent bills over to the Senate, and if they don't pass them this term, it is our goal over the next 3 to 5 years to get those bills done. We also want to root out discrimination. We want to make sure that no matter who you love, or how you show up in this world, you'll never lose a job or housing. And unfortunately, right now in Pennsylvania law, you can. So it's a bill called the Fairness Act. We passed it out the House, but it hasn't passed in the Senate yet. We want to get that done. We also want to do the Crown Act. I'm here with my natural girls, but no matter where you work, you don't want to lose a job or even miss an opportunity for an internship because of how you style your hair or how it just naturally grows out of your scalp. So that's a bill that we have to get done. We have a lot of things that we need to accomplish. And I know that it may not all get done this session. Our session ends November 30th, but hopefully, knocking on wood here, we'll be able to continue this great work over the next few years to really bring more changes in the law to protect people and expand more services.
I want to talk about a specific initiative that the Women and Girls Foundation has been behind for at least a decade or more. Um, so can you talk about the need for the Family Care Act and the importance of paid leave, especially as how it relates to Black women?
Absolutely. So when we think about family care and paid leave, these are things that are economic issues. They go down to our pocketbook, the money that we can make and the money that we can save and the money that we can use to take care of our family. So if you are caring for a loved one, if you have a family member to get sick, or if you have a new child, you might miss more work than your job provides, days off or sick days. I'll give you an example. I was meeting with the doctor who's from central Pennsylvania in my office in Harrisburg, and she said, I'm trying to help my patient have this baby, and they're going to have a C-section, a cesarean, but she doesn't have too many days off, and her partner doesn't have any days off. So we're trying to schedule it once her partner gets to 90 days at his job. And that's just wild. If he's working a job, he should be able to have paid leave so he can go, be there for the birth, be there for the delivery, not have to rush out of the room and think he's about to lose his job the same day. And it's really striking to me that we don't have these things in law, but it gives us goals. And I'm so grateful that Girl Gov is leading this fight on how we can expand protections, rights, and resources for families that need it. So I look forward to us all slapping fives one day when it gets across the finish line.
Yes, absolutely. The Women and Girls Foundation is definitely looking forward to that moment too. And we like to educate people about policies that are going to put money back into, the folks that hold up our society and hold up our families. And traditionally, that has been women. All right. So you've shared so much with us. You've been so inspirational. I know that I'm inspired. I can't wait to tell my daughter to watch this interview. And I just want to end by saying, is there anything else that you want to share with us about your journey, about what you're working on, or about what you think is important?
Well, I'll just say thank you to the Women and Girls Foundation for all that you do. It is significant, it's important, and to anyone that's still watching, because I have talked a lot, I just want to encourage you wherever you are on your journey to keep going. I could have literally never guessed that I'd be so blessed to not only serve my neighbors, I'm in my district office right now in West Philly, but of course to be the first woman speaker in Pennsylvania's House. We need you. We need your voices. We need your leadership. We need all you've got. It is not easy, but it is necessary. So I'm grateful for where I am on my journey. And for each of you who are watching and listening, know that your voices are important. Your gifts, your skills, your interests, they will lead you into rooms and opportunities that we are waiting for. So thank you so very much for this opportunity. And for those who do social media, I don't encourage you to do it too much. I have a time limit on my apps. I am Rep McClinton on everything: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. Rep McClinton. Let's stay connected and let's change the world together.